You are not tired because you work too much. You're tired because you spend every day shrinking yourself to fit expectations that were never yours to begin with. You smile in meetings. You nod politely. You say yes to things that drain your soul. And when you're finally alone, it still doesn't feel safe to just be you. What if I told you that this exhaustion, this anxiety, this burnout, isn't the problem? It's the symptom. The real issue? You've been outsourcing your worth. And Carl Jung believed that the deepest form of suffering is the one we inherit, the inner war between who we are, and who we think we need to be to feel loved. If you're constantly seeking validation, approval, or even subtle permission to exist, you're not free. But you can be. And this video is the first step toward that freedom. You wake up, check your phone, and your heart races just a little. Did they reply? Did they like your post? Did your manager finally acknowledge your effort? You get dressed, carefully choosing what says, "I'm competent, I'm calm, I've got it all together." You go to work, and every interaction is a subtle performance. A laugh that's a little too loud. A silence that hides what you really want to say. A yes that should have been a no, just to keep the peace, just to be liked, just to avoid being too much. By noon, your body is present, but your energy has already been given away. To emails you rewrote 3 times. To overthinking every message before you hit send. To smiling when you wanted to speak up. To biting your tongue so no one feels uncomfortable. And by the time you get home, there's nothing left for you. You collapse on the couch, phone still in hand, scrolling, not to relax, but to make sure you're still in the loop. Still liked. Still seen. Still safe. But deep down, you know this isn't safety. It's dependency. It's the emotional equivalent of walking barefoot on glass just to earn the right to exist. This is not just people-pleasing. It's a slow, silent erasure of your authenticity. And no matter how good you get at it, you still never feel enough. That's the trap. And it's not your fault. But it is your responsibility to break it. Carl Jung didn't just study the mind, he studied the soul. And what he discovered was both disturbing and liberating. Most of us are living a life built around other people's expectations, not because we want to, but because we believe we have to. This belief runs deep. It starts in childhood, when love is earned through behavior. It's reinforced at school, where being quiet is praised more than being real. And it follows us into adulthood, where entire careers and relationships are built not on who we are, but on who we've learned to perform as. Jung called this the false self, the mask we wear to survive in a world that often doesn't welcome our full truth. But here's the twist, the more we depend on that mask, the more we disconnect from our power. Validation feels good, but it's addictive. Approval feels safe, but it's fragile. Praise feels fulfilling, but it fades. And when our inner world is built on those fragile external cues, we're always one criticism away from collapse. Always one moment of rejection away from spiraling. Always one ignored message away from doubting our worth. But Jung offered a different path, one that leads inward, not outward. He called it individuation, the process of becoming whole by embracing who you truly are, not who the world wants you to be. That's where your freedom lives. Not in being perfect. Not in being liked. But in being you, without apology or performance. Let's dissect this. Emotional dependency isn't just a personality trait, it's a coping mechanism. It's the unconscious belief that our safety, our worth, and even our identity depend on how others respond to us. This creates a kind of inner algorithm. If they approve, I feel safe. If they disapprove, I feel anxious. If they ignore me, I question myself. Over time, your nervous system becomes wired not to your truth, but to their reactions. You live on edge, waiting for a sign that you're okay. This isn't connection. It's surveillance. It's a lifetime spent scanning faces, decoding tones, editing your truth before it even forms. You don't just fear rejection, you pre-reject yourself by molding your behavior to prevent it. And the price is steep. Because every time you betray your own needs to meet someone else's expectations, a part of you goes silent. Your creativity muted. Your desires delayed. Your boundaries blurred. Your soul exhausted. It doesn't feel like trauma. But it is. It's the trauma of self-abandonment, done so gradually, so politely, so professionally, that you don't even notice it until your body begins to protest. Burnout. Anxiety. Disconnection. And still, you wonder if you're the problem. You're not. The problem is the belief that your worth needs to be proven. Carl Jung would say, this belief belongs to your shadow, the part of you that you were taught to hide. But in that shadow lives your real power. And it's time to reclaim it. Carl Jung said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. But here's the catch, what you admire in others, or what you fear they're thinking of you. That's not always about them. It's a projection of the parts of yourself that you haven't fully owned. When you crave approval, what you're really chasing is permission. Permission to feel valuable. Permission to speak freely. Permission to finally be seen, without fear. But instead of giving ourselves that permission, we outsource it. We hand it over to bosses, friends, followers, family, waiting, hoping, performing. And when they don't reflect back the image we want, we spiral. We question ourselves. We sabotage our own confidence before life even gets a chance to test it. That's the loop. You suppress your truth, you feel invisible, you overperform to compensate, you burn out, and still, you don't feel enough. So you start again. Harder this time. More polished. More pleasing. And yet, more hollow. Jung called this a psychic split, the internal war between the self and the persona. The persona is the mask you wear to be accepted. The self is who you are beneath the mask. And until you confront the gap between them, you'll live your life as a performance, well-rehearsed, yet unfulfilled. But there's another way. And it starts by pulling back the projection, and giving yourself the very thing you keep hoping to receive from everyone else. So how do you break the cycle? It begins with a radical, uncomfortable shift. Instead of asking, do they approve of me? You ask, do I approve of myself in this moment? This is what Jung called inner integration, pulling back the fragments of yourself that were left behind for the sake of fitting in. And it starts small. Not with grand affirmations or spiritual bypassing, but with conscious microdecisions. Saying no when your body says no. Leaving the message unread until you've taken a breath. Letting silence exist in a conversation, even if it feels awkward. Saying what you mean, not just what will be received well. Each act of inner alignment rewires your nervous system. You stop seeking safety out there, and begin building it in here. Because here's the truth. Validation is not love. It's a performance metric. And your soul was never meant to be managed like a brand. Instead of branding yourself for approval, start befriending yourself for truth. Ask. What do I believe is right? What emotion am I afraid to feel? What part of me am I still hiding to protect someone else's comfort? This is not self-help. It's self-return. And the more you return to yourself, the less addictive external approval becomes. It starts to feel shallow. And what you once craved begins to look like what it always was, a substitute for self-connection. Every belief you hold about your worth came from somewhere. And most of it wasn't yours to begin with. You didn't choose to believe that love must be earned, or that rest must be justified. You absorbed those beliefs, from culture, from family, from environments that rewarded performance over presence. Carl Jung would call these inherited ideas part of the collective unconscious, a web of conditioning passed silently through generations. And unless you examine them, you'll continue to mistake those old voices for your own intuition. But here's the empowering truth. A belief is not a law. It's just a thought you've repeated, consciously or unconsciously, so many times, it became automatic. And what becomes automatic can also be reprogrammed. It starts with awareness. Next time you feel triggered by disapproval, pause. Don't react, observe. Ask, whose voice is this? Is it a parent's? A boss's? Society's? Then ask again, is it true? Is it helpful? Does it honor who I am now? This is how fear loses power, not by force, but by clarity. And once fear is seen for what it really is, a protection script, not a prophecy, you reclaim the choice. That choice is your sovereignty. The ability to choose your values, your pace, your standards, not from trauma, not from guilt, but from alignment. Imagine this. No longer needing applause to speak your truth. No longer shrinking when others are uncomfortable. No longer questioning your path just because it's not trending. That's not arrogance. That's inner leadership. And it's available to you the moment you stop outsourcing your authority. Let's bring this into the real world, because theory alone won't change your life. Imagine Sarah, a marketing manager in her early 30s, who constantly feels exhausted by the need to impress her boss and coworkers. She's brilliant and creative, but she hides her ideas for fear of being judged or rejected. Every presentation feels like walking a tightrope, perform perfectly or risk losing respect. Her anxiety spikes before every meeting, and by the end of the day, she's drained, doubting her own abilities despite years of success. Now, consider Alex, a 28-year-old graphic designer battling social anxiety. He's constantly refreshing social media, measuring likes and comments as if they're the scale of his worth. When a post doesn't get the response he hoped for, his confidence plummets. He starts to question whether he should even pursue his passion. Both Sarah and Alex are trapped in the same cycle of external validation. But what happens when they begin to shift? When Sarah starts setting boundaries, saying no to extra projects that don't align with her values? When Alex practices being present without the constant need for digital approval? Slowly, they reclaim their energy, their voice, and their sense of self-worth. They learn that peace isn't found in likes, or praise, or perfect performances, it's found in authentic presence. This transformation isn't instantaneous, but it's profound. And it's accessible to you, too. To wrap up, remember this: no one, absolutely no one, can hurt you again once you reclaim your own validation. Carl Jung's insight was a beacon for anyone lost in the noise of others' opinions. By freeing yourself from the need to perform for approval, you open the door to living with more lightness, focus, and self-esteem. The journey isn't easy, but it's worth every step. Start by noticing when you seek permission outside yourself. Pause and ask, do I approve of me right now? Practice small acts of self-acceptance daily. Build your inner sanctuary, one where your worth is not up for debate or negotiation. If this video resonated with you, take a moment to reflect. What's one area in your life where you can stop performing and start living your truth? Write it down, say it aloud, and commit to one small step toward that freedom today. You are not your fears, your mistakes, or the shadows you hide. You are the light that remains when you remove the mask. And that light is unstoppable. Thank you for watching. If you found value here, please like, subscribe, and share this message with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, your journey to true freedom starts with one simple choice: to believe in yourself.